Okay.
So we have two businesses operating in this space. We have Bike Right, which is a for-profit business that does a lot of eBay sales and bike service. And we have Madison Freewheel Bicycle Co., which is a non-profit that focuses on education, recycling, and getting people on bikes. And the main way Freewheel accomplishes that is through the Build-A-Bike class, which Brell teaches very often, where people can come in and work with a professional mechanic for 4 to 6 hours and build up an entire bicycle from donated parts. And they'll learn how to put the wheels onto the frame, how to adjust the brakes, how to make sure the shifting's working, and make sure everything is safe, and they know how to operate the bike safely. And they can, we ask for donations, like, if they can, but there's no requirement to pay for that class.
Yeah, and we've been teaching that class consistently since, I want to say about 2012.
Wow.
And it started out being offered every week. We've since gone down to every other week, mostly because I've had a bunch of other work that I had to do. Yeah, we're now every other Sunday, and we're going to be ramping that back up here, ideally I think at the end of March, when we go back into spring hours and kind of get all that ready to go. Freewheel has been around since 2003, and started out as started actually out in this building, and was not this unit, but like it's moved around a bunch of times throughout the years. But it was originally conceived as a space for people to have a community bike shop that they could come in, they could use tools that they wouldn't otherwise have access to, because, I mean, right, like, there are tools that no one's going to have at home. Like, no one has chain whips particularly often, or like bottom bracket cassette removers. That's not like a thing.
And I mean, like, those tools you don't need very often when you're working on a bike.
At your
And
house.
like, if you go and buy them, they're like $50, something expensive. And I mean, there's some more advanced tools that we have around here that are much more expensive, and you need very rarely. So being able to share those tools is very, very good.
And we've always operated on kind of like the each one teach one method, where people come in, like get a chance to like see how the shop works, learn some things from the people who are here, and then pass that knowledge on to future bike mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
So with all of our courses, they've always been fairly self-directed and kind of like created by the people who showed up here and wanted to like share their knowledge with the Madison community. But it's always been really focused on making sure that people are have access to bicycles, that they understand them, that they're no longer mysteries. We try to say like we like to demystify the bicycle, and we try to provide like access to reliable transportation. And a lot of the people that come in here are like we get a pretty large chunk of like the Madison homeless community will come by to work on their bikes. We have tons and tons of free parts and such available to keep those things going. We get a fairly large number of like kids in the neighborhood, especially during summer, who will come by and like. I'm always really happy when they show up to build bike class, because I know that they're like they pretty consistently are going to be coming in and saying like my bike doesn't work and it's like it's wildly unsafe, and we can let somebody's parent know that their kid's going to be on like a safe bicycle instead of on something where they're like sticking their feet down on the ground hoping to stop traffic. So like I'm always like really happy about like our ability to engage in the community and to like provide this space. We've been transitioning over the past few years to more of a organized membership model. Before it was kind of, we had like a shop credit system where you'd come in and volunteer for a certain number of hours and we'd credit you a certain number of like dollars, and you could like get some of the free things that were here, and that sort of worked. But the overhead was a little tricky, and like how things are valued and stuff was a little tricky and stuff. So we've really more moved to saying like we have things that are free and things that are for sale, if there's free stuff, just take the free stuff. Try not to like inure yourself, unnecessary benefit by like digging through all the freewheel stuff and selling the good stuff. And we also like have now specific memberships that provide open shop access. So we now have it. It's like $40 a year. And
$40, and we ask for 4 hours of volunteer labor. That's for a year, and then you get access to the open shop outside of the regular class hours. So it's during the day, 4 or 5 extra days a week when we're open. That's for the community members. But then the classes that we host are just open to everyone.
Yeah, and I've always like really appreciated like our kind of like duality in that model to say like, yeah, there's like a really nominal financial investment per year. I mean, it's $40 for the whole year, and in so doing, you get access to like a shop with stands and tools and people around who you can probably ask questions about fixing your bike. 95% of the kind of fixes that people need to do over the course of the year can really easily be done here. It just like is this huge, it removes this huge barrier to people continuously like using their bicycle as like a means of transportation. Because you'll buy, like a lot of times people will buy a bike for like $150 and they'll say like, great, this is the thing that I can just ride forever, and then like they have to take their bike to a bike shop and legitimately so find themselves like looking at like a $200 repair bill on that bike, because there's a lot of skilled labor that's involved in maintaining and repairing a bicycle, and we don't want to minimize that. Like we do support ourselves through our for-profit bike shop by having skilled mechanics who provide labor at skilled mechanic labor rates. Like we do have that, but we also want to let people know that they can do these things themselves. They can learn those skills, professionalism has a real place, and that like you should go to those people who have invested time and effort and energy in learning those skills. You can learn from them and like maybe learn some basic skills. Don't consider yourself to be a giant expert the first day you show up. Realize that the people who have been here have been like working on these things for the better part of a decade. And like things that look easy often are the result of experience. And I like doing that a lot with the people during our Build-A-Bike class, where we get people of all ages and experience levels. We got 6-year-olds, 70-year-olds. I've got people who are not sure that like which directions to tighten screws, and people who built their own bicycle years ago and now want to just transition to modern parts and like haven't used those or something. Like it's a wild range of skill sets, and everybody has something to learn from everyone else. And so I just like really appreciated that.
How many people are usually in a class?
In my classes, it ranges pretty wildly. Depending on whether or not people sign up in advance properly, or just like show up thinking that it was cool to do that. I try to target 4 to 8 people in one of my build bike classes, but I've had as many as 23.
Wow.
And in terms of like when I have a class of 23, like my number of totally working fixed bicycles that come out of there, it drops. It's not 23 people like are going to necessarily finish. And
Right.
We tell people that also up front in our class. We say like we'll be here to help you from beginning to end, but repair and rehabilitation of a bicycle is different than assembling a new part or a new bike of like verified parts. It's going to be a puzzle that you're going to have to figure out. It's going to have some random thing that happens that slows you down, and we have to. I try to make sure that like even in the best of conditions, repair is always somewhat unexpected, and that's just the nature of the process. But I mean, we had 23, like we got 17 bikes out, and I felt pretty good about that.
Over the winter, we've been having a Sunday volunteer day where people come in and there'll be a mechanic on hand. They can work on their bike or they can help out around the shop. And over the winter, we don't get so much, 4 to 5 people every day, but already now it's booked. Like we have more people than we can handle, so it's really ramping up this season already.
Good.
Yeah, we're really excited for that.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
Our coworker Lang running back and forth, moving a bunch of packages. One of the things that one of the ways that we've learned that we can support this this space has been through engaging in a lot of eBay sales. Partially because of the experience that the people who are here have built up over the years. Like being able to realize what a seat post that is, just like a throwaway aluminum seat post versus a seat post that has significant collector value on eBay is one of the things that Elijah prides himself in, and is one of the skill sets that a lot of the mechanics who are here have been developing and have really got an eye for now. And so now more than half our business is done on eBay, like probably like 80% now.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, is like eBay sales, and Madison's a great place for that because like we've got so many folks nearby to trek and such, and folks who are in the cycling community, so it makes it a little easier for us to find resources. But by and large, a lot of what we've done and a lot of what we've been able to do has been based on having that experience, being able to recognize what things are worth fixing and what things aren't, and then trying to make sure that we're able to provide products that we know people want when they're going around buying parts. We're operating a bike shop, so we see people coming in and asking for this specific part, and so we learn that pretty quickly.
So another important thing about the eBay and e-commerce end of things is being a bike shop in Wisconsin means that there are definitely cycles of demand in terms of what products people want. And if we were solely doing in-person, like walk-in sales and so forth locally, we would see a definite decrease in our income levels in winter especially. Because we sell online and we ship worldwide, we have enough to pull us through what would otherwise be a fallow season.
We've won a bunch of awards for our online selling work, and we've done really well there. I do a lot of different trainings, talking to a lot of different people about that. And in terms of the broader cooperative movement, I think that there's a huge opportunity there. Like we're in the golden age of specialty retail, where if you are a specialty shop, you sell some sort of specialty item or service, you can get online, you can get onto an e-commerce platform, and you can put it out there to a global audience. And not only will it help smooth out your cash flow, but it will also add additional revenue. It will enable you to reach additional customers. And one of the key things with selling online is differentiating yourself from all of the different sellers on there. And if you've got a worker cooperative mission, or a cooperative mission, or a social justice mission, or an economic mission, you can communicate pretty clearly to people why they should buy your item for $19.99 instead of the competitors for $19.98.
This is Elijah. He owns the for-profit business that Bike Right that supports Madison Freewheel Bicycle Co. And he's very knowledgeable about all the different bike parts and handles a lot of the customer service and eBay interaction.
So I see we've got 4 of you here.
Yeah.
Are there more? How many people are involved in this?
10? Well, I think only like 8 of us get paid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rel doesn't get paid.
Yeah.
And so the people getting paid, they're getting paid through Freewheel or through
Both.
Basically,
both,
the
okay.
for-profit does for-profit things, and the nonprofit spends money on nonprofit things. And so we may pay Lang to go and table at Wheeler Street Fair, right? That doesn't make money, really. or we can pay Lang to pack things. That makes money. So Lang's getting 2 different paychecks as a result of that. Going forward, we're thinking about like how can we structure it legally so that we can still maintain 501c3 status and have that focus on serving the community, but also have a decision-making structure and a performance incentive structure that works for the employees of the organization. And it's a bit of a challenge, but there are blended models out there that we've seen and we've been told about, and there are different ways of having nonprofits contracted with for-profits and stuff like that, that can be ways of addressing that.
Great.
Do you have another?
I did, but
All right. So we're working with the UW Law and Entrepreneurship Center, and they're going to be helping us figure out what legal structures are possible. We're in contact with them, talking with them. We have some proposed models that we've come up with, but none of us are lawyers, so we're reaching out to them for help, and we'll hopefully be able to come up with some good structures that, as Elijah says, works for the employees and works to further our charitable efforts.
And most major university cities are going to have some sort of a legal clinic, especially if you're doing something related to nonprofit work, worker cooperative stuff, owner cooperative stuff, whatever it is. They're going to be very inclined to help you out if you can show up with a very specific problem with a limited, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months scope.
So of the 8 people who are getting paychecks, how many is that like a main source of income for the people?
For me, it's not
like
a main
sole?
source of income. Yeah.
Okay.
We have
Great.
a flat pay structure. Minimum is $15 an hour. And we want to raise that over time. I think we've done 3 raises or 4 raises a year.
Yeah.
We're shooting for 20.
This time last year, we were making 11 or 13.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh wow.
The living wage for Dane
And-
County is like $10.50, and for City of Madison's like $11.13 or something like that. So we are above living wage for the city that we're in because it's skilled labor.
Yeah.
We do a lot of cross training. Some people are putting in 9 hours a week. Some people are putting in 60 hours a week. So that's kind of one of the big variables in terms of how much money people are going to be making is how many hours they are willing to put in, or they have the skills that the organization needs. And we're very fortunate where we're in this area of the intersection of like economic justice and e-commerce, where there's literally always more work. When we do the tour and we go around, you'll see we just got a bunch of pallets of new product coming in at very, very good prices. We have 1,000 bikes. A lot of those are not listed. So there's pretty much always more work for people to do, as long as the people who are doing management roles can sort of put the correct workers onto the correct tasks, which can be sort of challenging, especially in a situation where you want to have a non-hierarchical decision-making structure, where you want to have a more egalitarian workplace that's a little bit less pyramidal, a little bit less structured. It means that a lot more people have to have management skills and ownership sense. It's a big challenge for a lot of people.
Sure. But we recognize the benefits of that long term, and that it builds resilience. So any of us can have a unfortunate biking accident for a while or something, and like take a break. That'll happen. And most of the time, like we're pretty able to kind of like fill in the gaps, or realize that there's an opportunity that we didn't like have the stated capacity to take, but because of like the cross work that a lot of us have done, like for instance, like Lang's been able to jump in and do some additional like social media stuff and do outreach that way, or like Eric's been able to do additional classes, and these weren't like initially like what people were like here to do, but we like saw like we saw like, hey, there's a place where we can grow a little bit here. Let's do some of that and open ourselves up to those growth opportunities, and being able to say like, yeah, I can totally do this. Whenever we have like staff meetings, it's it's really positive and really powerful.
Right. Over the winter, I volunteered to teach a winter biking class, and I biked through the entire winter. It's something I've been doing for many years, so it's just a skill I already had. and we were able to promote a class. We didn't get a great turnout, but it happened. I taught a couple people what I think is important about winter biking, and that's a skill I was able to share.
And that's something too that we've realized, like sometimes like those programs start up somewhat slow. Like when we started our Build a Bike class in 2012, prior to that it had always been like completely unstructured. You could just like show up and like maybe someone would teach you how to build a bike, or like you'd leave your project here and like you'd eventually like your bike would get half built and then someone would think that it was a free parts bike and it would get unbuilt and then you'd rebuild it again and kind of like hope. In 2012 we switched over to like a more like specific date and time and scope of the project class, and we had pretty bad attendance for the first year. Like there were a lot
of confused people.
People who showed up thinking that like they were supposed to just like show up and like take parts off of the bikes and like just kind of like go at it. And so like there was definitely like there was a lag time in that first year. A lot of days that I would come here to the class and people had signed up and I would just like sit around and wait, no one would show up. And like that's just like kind of how it goes at first. But after that first year of like us being like, we were always consistently like here and had class. And if we didn't, we would give people significant like heads up and such. The year after we had way better attendance. The year after that, we had more attendance than we could handle, and then from there on out, like the classes are full. People know what to expect. We've like set a precedent, and like setting that has been really cool for us to like see that happen and to see like how people in the community, like the word is out about what we do, and they show up.